get ready for bed. It took me a little while to read this one, and I think I was just a little burnt out on nonfiction. Even though I'd read a couple fiction in between, but yeah, not being a big nonfiction person, it was kind of hard. But Coming by Michelle Obama. One of my best friends at college there's 3 of us, and she made sure that we all 3 had a copy, for our birthday, and birthdays is so good. Okay, so, Michelle, this is a long thing. Alright, here's Petey. When she was a little girl, Michelle Robinson's world was the south side of Chicago, where she and her brother Craig shared a bedroom in their family's upstairs apartment, played catch in the park where her parents, Fraser and Mary Robinson, raised her to be outspoken and unafraid. But life soon took her much further afield from the halls of Princeton, where she learned for the first time what it felt like to be the only black woman in a room, to the glassy office tower where she worked as a high-powered corporate lawyer, and where one summer morning a law student named Barack Obama appeared in her office and upended all her carefully made plans. Here for the first time, Michelle Obama describes... We are not about to smoke. This dog is so high maintenance. Can you stop? Just lay down. Petey, lay down. Are you good now? Nope, okay. Lay down. Alright, Michelle Obama, lay down, describes the early years of her marriage as she struggles. Lay down! It's my life every single night. Are you done now? We'll see. Michelle Obama describes the early years of her marriage as she struggles to balance her work and family with her husband's fast-moving political career. She takes us inside their private debate over whether he should make the run for the presidency and her subsequent role as a popular but oft-criticized figure during his campaign. Narrating with grace, good humor, and uncommon candor, she provides a vivid behind-the-scenes account of her family's history-making launch into the global limelight, as well as their life. Inside the White House, there were 8 momentous years. She comes to know her country, and her country comes to know her. Becoming takes us through modest Iowa kitchens and ballrooms at Buckingham Palace, through moments of heart-stopping grief and profound resilience. Don't do it. Bringing us deep into the soul of a singular, groundbreaking figure in history as she strives to live authentically, marshaling her personal strength and voice in service of a set of higher ideals. Stop chewing on myself. Okay. In telling her story with honesty and boldness, she issues a challenge to the rest of us. Who are we, and who do we want to become? Okay, reading that, I remembered, some of my favorite parts. So one of my favorite parts is how she totally was like, no, I did not like Barack Obama. And then I loved when she was talking about how bad she wanted to be a mother as a kid, that she took her mother's birth control and stuff. I just found it really cool to see, that side of her, because the Obamas was the first presidency that I have actual memories of. Okay. Because, up until I was in 5th grade, it was just well, George Bush was president, his dad was president before him, and that's about, what I knew. But I didn't really, know anything that was going on beyond that. And I felt like the Obamas did a really good job of making the world known to a younger generation, because we were able to know what was going on in the world without being like traumatized out of our childhood. And like I really loved that, and I really wish we would continue that, like if nothing else, because I do agree that there was a lot of stuff that like whatever, but that's something I think was really amazing about their administration, and I think a lot of that came from Michelle. So I've been wanting to read this book for a while. I started out listening to it, and I got the physical copy. But I love how simple she puts it. Like, it reminds me of, like, a book you read for 7th grade English. Like, it's just very easy put, and it's very pretty, and Tito's staring at me. And, it wasn't hard to follow. And she's a very educated woman, and so it was very nice. Like, even though I've graduated college, and have, like, an undergrad, it was nice to be able to read it and be like, well, I could have read this in middle school. Because I feel like often when you read books by educated individuals, we are kind of left lost. And Michelle does a really good job of helping us bridge that gap. What are some other things? It was also cool seeing, because I don't have many memories of Malia and Sasha at the beginning of the administration. Mainly I remember what happened like toward the end when Malia she had her gap year. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, she was smoking weed. Like she's not an 18-year-old. And I love that was Michelle's response too. She was like, she's a 18-year-old girl. She's gotta do some things I don't like. At one point, she was talking about all the things that were said about her as a first lady and everything, and I remember like a lot of those comments being made. I remember them saying like that she was too brash and that she was a tyrant and all this, and I remember, I'm sad. I remember like a lot of the claims that were made about Obama's like birth and stuff, and so it was really cool to be able to have memories of that. And then let's see. Oh, I watched the documentary too, because I wanted to be able to just like know what I was talking about. And one of the things that she was talking about was how one of the main complaints about her is that she wasn't soft in general. And when she said that, I was like, you don't have to be. Like, I don't care if you're the first lady. You don't have to be. Like, that's like the beauty of the world we live in, is that you shouldn't have to be. And I love how much there were moments in the book where the Queen Queen Elizabeth kind of told her that, and was like, dude, like, all this doesn't matter. Or other things. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I really liked that it was her story and not her husband's, because I think we so often combine them because of the Obama administration, and she did what a lot of first ladies didn't do, and she took on a huge responsibility with the role, because she didn't just want to do what was expected of her. She wanted to still be herself and to have, she almost had her own career with it. And so I think a lot of times we lump them together, so it was really nice to just kind of see her and kind of see this woman who is changing and moving us forward in so many ways as far as feminism and as far as women's rights. And it was just super, I don't know, it was just super nice to like get to peek into her head, because regardless of how you feel about her husband or how you feel about her school lunch program thing, like, she is doing good things for women as far as using her voice and all that, especially women of color. And it was really, when she was talking about at Princeton, where she learned for the first time what it was like to be the only black girl in the room, it kind of reminded me of, like, on the flip side of that, because I grew up in a very small town where, like, I think I had maybe 2 black kids throughout my entire 12 years, and they would only stay for, like, a year or 2 at most. And so when I got to college, I was so afraid of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, you know, having RBF and it comes across wrong, because I didn't know, I felt like I didn't know how to interact with, like, black students, black individuals, and everything, and so it was, like, real interesting to just see. It would have been different reading it before that experience, I think, because I'd have been like, well, yeah, that happens a lot, but being able to kind of understand how the world you grew up in can change drastically, with where you go to college or whatever, because she was very used to, like, a lot of people look like me, because she grew up in a part of Chicago that white people were all but paid to move out of, and or like paid to move into, so that it was more diverse. And then she went into this environment where it wasn't like that at all, and so that was really, it was like the one moment that it was like, I can relate almost to what you've experienced. And it's not like almost by like this much, it's almost by like there's a lot, but it's a moment where it's like, yeah, I get that. Like, I've lived it probably like 30%, but that's 30% more than a lot of the things that I can only imagine. And I think I finished it like at a good time, because I finished it right before everything with George Floyd and all that. And I watched Becoming a few days ago, so like in the midst of it, and it's just really, it was just really, I think, a really good time to have read it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd read it again, just because it took a lot, which, not in a bad way, like, there were moments where she had me crying, and I was just like, what? But just, like, because it's nonfiction and everything, but I would, like, absolutely be like, read this, you have to read it. And it's a really good book. Nonfiction's hard. I'm currently reading 11/22/63. I am probably a third of the way through that. And then once I finish that, I think I'm going to read Chase Darkness with Me, which is another nonfiction. Yeah, it's really good. Trying to think if there's other things I can say about it, but that's kind of why I wanted to watch the documentary before I talked about it, was because it was like, well, I want to be able to wrap my head around it even more and be able to know where I stand and what I want to say, and a lot of it is just, sorry, just stretched in the weirdest way. A lot of it is just being able to separate Michelle Obama from the Obama administration, despite that she was a huge part of it. I think that was really, I don't know, it's kind of a lens that's forced upon you, because you start the book wanting to read about Michelle Obama of the Obama administration, and she's like, no, we're not talking about that, we're talking about Michelle Obama, that was Michelle Robinson. So it was just really nice for her, like, she didn't leave any, like, room for you to apply a different lens. She's like, no, this is the lens you need to understand. Yeah, it was really nice. Like, I think for her not being an author and stuff, it was really cool. Like, you could see that she drew a lot of inspiration from what she'd read. So, yeah, it was super cool. Just so dead. But, yeah. And she's gorgeous. It was interesting, like, because in the middle of the book, you got this, like, chunk of pictures. It was really interesting to kind of go through and, see how bad, like, the mid-2000s did her. Just because, like, that was a rough time for everyone, but I feel like she tried to have the hair, and she tried to have, like, the thin eyebrows and stuff that was really popular, and it kind of hid how pretty she is. And I think that was a lot of why everyone's like, oh, she's such a man. It's just because, like, that was what our standards were, kind of, is that we were just, I don't know how to describe it, because I was a kid during it, but I do, like, kind of remember, the, like, phases of it. But I think as she's, like, come into herself and come into her position and come into, like, how she wants to look and how she wants to be and how she uses how she looks to talk about that, that she just is so pretty. Yeah, it was amazing. I don't really know what else to say. So yeah, hopefully I'll finish 11/22/63 in the next couple weeks, and then I can talk about it, because I want to have a lot to say. Which, it's like an 800-page book, so of course, but also I've been wanting to read it for a while now, and it started about a year ago.